Alright guys, so here's the full review of the Heimdallr Seiko Monster Homage. If you haven't seen the unboxing, I've actually done a separate unboxing video, I'll leave a link to that up here. But otherwise, let's get right down into this one. So, as you can see, got the red dial version, because I do really like that colour. Not got any red dial watches in my collection at the moment, so I just had to pick that one up. And I do really like this. I just love that. But as you can see, we've actually got some AR coating on this, with a slight blue hue to it. Some people don't like that. I personally don't have a problem with it, but something to be aware of. Actually, while we're zoomed in, I'll quickly talk about this dial, because I noticed in the comments on the unboxing that some people said the chapter ring was misaligned. I've looked at this again, and I can't see an issue with that at all. It's not misaligned at all for me. As you can see, it lines up perfectly. No issues there at all. So just thought I'd get that out of the way. The one thing that is misaligned is this loom pip. It is ever so slightly to the left. But I mean like ever so slightly. You might not even be able to tell, to be honest. But with the naked eye you can just about tell it is a fraction to the left in that triangle. But other than that, like I say, everything else really nicely aligned. No issues at all. So zooming back out, as you can see, we've got quite a nice bracelet on this. The polished centre links, then brushed outer ones. It does look good. And then we've got the Heimdallr on there, on the clasp. If we just undo that, as you can see, we've got a nice milled clasp. Now if I zoom in, the case back, the Heimdallr shark on there as well, and then some specs around the outside. So sapphire crystal, automatic movement, all stainless steel, water resistant 200 meters, and we've also got solid links on there as well, solid end links. So zoom back out. One thing to mention with the links on this, they are just push pins, but I did have a little bit of trouble getting them out. Some of them are a little bit stiff, so something to be aware of. So flicking back around, let's quickly get onto the measurements, because that's going to be the main thing with this watch, whether you buy it or not. So, got a thickness of 13mm, diameter of 42mm, lug width 20mm, and now the all-important lug to lug. So on the actual lugs themselves, it's about 47.5-ish, but if you take into account the bracelet, it is slightly larger, at about 48.5. So those links go more or less straight down, but because they're quite chunky links, they do stick out ever so slightly. So again, doesn't make a great deal of difference, but just thought I'd let you know. So now let's test whether we've got sapphire crystal on this. Using the trusty diamond selector 2. And as you can see, yep, we have got sapphire crystal. So they won't lie in there. So now let's check out that bezel action. So they've got this interesting detailing on the side here, which if you look really closely, I don't know if I zoom in a bit better, if it was misaligned, that could cause issues with these bits lining up. But luckily on mine, it's looking pretty good. So again, zoom back out and let's see it in action. So you've got plenty of grip, that's not an issue at all. But you can't really turn it here, you have to do it on the side here, because with the design of the case, it's just not really possible. It's kind of shrouded almost with these bits. But, like I say, nice action, rock solid, absolutely zero playback on that. If I was being really picky, I'd probably say it's a touch light maybe, but that's probably personal preference, to be honest. I like my bezels to be quite tight, because I don't want to be knocking them, but then you can't knock this with one finger, or, yeah, there's no play, so not an issue really. And as you can see, perfectly lined up, which isn't always the way, especially with Seikos as well, which this is obviously Homage in. So perhaps this could be better than the original in a couple of ways, dare I say it, but let me know what you think down in the comments. So let's quickly test out the movement on this. So as you can see, the crown unsigned, but it is really grippy. Screw down as well. So pop it out once, you can change the date, turn it the other way, you can change the day, pop it out again. As you can see, second hand stopped, so we've got hacking, that's because this has got an NH36, and then turn it, obviously we can change the time. I have noticed that it is a little bit, well, I wouldn't say loose, but it doesn't take a lot to move this hand. But then if you slow it right down, you can get it nice and precise. So, not an issue. But if you want to spin it quite quickly, as you can see, that is the way they geared it is a little strange, I'd say. If anything, it's probably a little too easy to do, because I'm not really turning that much. But again, that's just being super nitpicky, and it is easy to line up. And again, push it back in, second hand re-engages, and then you screw the crown back down. So now, let's talk about this loom. So let's get the lights off, and as you can see, that's pretty bright already. I might not even need to charge this, but let's do it anyway. Just got to keep it fair. We do it with the other watches, so we've got to do it with this one. But I can't really see it getting much brighter than that. Yeah, it was already full. So as you can see, really nice. As you kind of expect with it being an homage of a monster. It's pretty much what it's known for, that and obviously the design. But plenty of surface area with those indices and the hands. So really good loom on this. And as you can see, we've also got a loom pip as well, up at the 12. So really nice. It's beginning to dim ever so slightly now, but it pretty much stays at this level for a really good amount of time. Really good loom. If it hadn't been for the previous watch that I reviewed with the Lumicast, if you haven't seen that, I'll leave a link to that up here. That loom has spoiled me completely. It really is that good. So, like I say, if you haven't seen that video already, definitely check that out, because that is a game changer for me. But as far as standard loom goes, this is really, really good. So, all that's left to do now is show it on wrist. So, this is what it looks like on my 7-inch wrist. And I have to admit, I was actually quite surprised how well this wears, to be honest. Because, given the dimensions, it does seem really chunky. But, as you can see, it is a little bit tall, but because of that relatively compact lug to lug, in comparison to the actual diameter, it does wear a bit smaller than you'd expect. So, I'm pleasantly surprised with this. I've really liked wearing it. I wasn't entirely sure if it was going to be to my taste overall. I mainly bought it for the red dial, but I'm really liking it. So I'm definitely going to be keeping this one. So that's pretty much it for this one, guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.